Gray is a hugely important color when it comes to putting together our appearance. It lights up other colors. It pulls together the parts of an outfit. It intensifies other colors just by being there. It acts as the backbone of the wardrobe for large block items, coats and pants and suits and so on. And even for people who wear black in a flattering way, gray is often so much more interesting than black. And gray is always sophisticated. Gray is always in style. So it's really useful to learn how to choose your own grays. Today we're going to be talking about blue-tinged grays. So grays that are on the cooler side, belonging to summer and winter palettes. A warmer gray would have a green sometimes, or yellow or gold reflectivity to it. We're also going to be talking about neutral grays, those that are a little bit warm and a little bit cool. It's not even obvious whether they're warm or cool at all, which is true of most people. Most people are a little bit warm and cool at the same time. They are not absolutely warm colored or absolutely made out of cool colors. You don't eat in a test kitchen, but you want the nutrition. You don't live in a gym, but you want the freedom of movement. Well, you don't shop in a color lab or with color charts. Color palettes, for sure, they're very helpful, but I think that we shop in a more practical way in our regular lives, in stores and on websites and with all kinds of lighting and so on. And so my job is to help you make your best color decisions before you buy things. And today what I'd like to do is take a practical approach to working with cool and neutral grays. Hi, I'm Christine. Thanks for being here today. Folks will often ask me to show them various grays from different seasons, but the Pinterest boards show you all sorts of grays. And I'm not sure that really helps you when you're standing in a store trying to figure out if you should buy this particular top. You can take a picture of the Pinterest boards, but I don't know that that's how people shop. It's not really how I shop. I might open a Pinterest board in one window and then have the store items in another window and think about, could I slide the item from the store into that Pinterest board and have it just fit in perfectly well? That I might do. But I'm not sure that Pinterest boards and showing you all sorts of grays helps you in a store. And folks will ask me to talk about gray from a theoretical perspective. But again, I don't know if you carry that around and use it in a store. And with gray, it's particularly hard because grays can get very light in pretty well every season. And they can go quite dark as well, with more light to dark range maybe than even the colors have. And so a given gray can, from a light-dark perspective, fit into all kinds of seasons. From a warm-cool perspective, well, as we said, many grays are a little bit warm and a little bit cool, just like most people are. And if I said, well, here's a warm or warm neutral gray, you'd be, well, that's great. It fits into 6 seasons. I still don't know if I'm supposed to buy this or not. If it will flatter me and flatter my coloring and my makeup and my other clothes. And also, just to be clear, when I use the word neutral in this video, I will not be thinking about a fashion neutral, like a go with everything item, or a big item like a coat or a suit. I'm just thinking about in the middle on a warm to cool scale. And if we talk about a gray from a saturation perspective, meaning how much color pigment is in it. So what that means is if you think on the on one branch or on the trunk of the tree, a lineup of 10 grays going from pure white to pure black, if that's a gray scale, now start adding pigment. You're kind of wandering out the branches a little bit. The closer to the gray scale, just add a tiny little bit of pigment. That would be a low saturation color. Add a whole lot of pigment, and that's a high saturation color. Low saturation may be a faded denim. High saturation would be a very intense sapphire blue. Well, the thing about gray is they're all low saturation. That's the point. Whatever the recipe, however the gray was made, None of them, no gray has a whole lot of pigment. Now, some have more than others, but there's a crossover point. What you want to know is not the recipe for how to make this gray, it's do I buy this item? Will it work for me? There is a rule, a convention that I think is true, which is that the more saturated the colors, the less saturated the grays. I think it just helps our brain find balance, I think. So what that means is that in the winter seasons where there's a lot of color pigment in the colors, you're looking at, say, sapphire, the grays tend to have very little color pigment. Stainless steel, aluminum, you would have no idea if you were to color that back up what color it would be. Do they have some pigment? Yeah, they do. They're not just over on the grayscale made of different proportions of black and white. Those types of grays, they don't come from the natural world. They tend to be a little bit flat. They don't give you that ability to interact and form relationships with other colors that just looks so good and so alive and so belonging. But they don't have a whole lot of color. They're not very far from the grayscale, whereas the colors, way far from the grayscale. In the summer seasons, colors are less pigmented. They don't reach such a dark, such an intense amount of saturation. They're not bold and bright. They would be more like denim. And the grays have more pigment. If someone said, if you were to color that back up, what color would it be? You'd know. You'd say, well, it would be a turquoise blue or mauve or whatever it would be. You'd know. You can see what the color in them is. Well, there is that crossover point where you can get a summer pigment with very little, a summer gray with very little pigment, and a winter gray with a little bit more. And then you're back to, yeah, but is this going to work in my wardrobe? Would this be a great eyeshadow for me, or would it not? So today we're going to be talking about how to work with these. What looks good? I would rather see seafoam green with a soft dove gray than I would with charcoal. The seafoam green would fall back. It would not be able to express the fullness of its beauty because the charcoal would be taken over. And I would prefer to see pomegranate juice with iron gray than with taupe. It wouldn't look good. It would look out of balance and it would almost create a feeling of discomfort in that combination. So we're going to look at pictures today. We're going to pretend we're shopping together. We're going to see how to make some decisions. Okay, here's picture number one. Here we are in the store and we have this gray t-shirt and we're standing there looking at it. And you say to me, well, can you see any color coming from it? I'd say no. Maybe some yellow, but I don't know. Maybe that's the lights. Store lighting always tends to make things a little bit yellow, I find. So I'm not really sure. And then you'd say to me, well, if you colored it back up, what color would it be? And I'd say, well, I don't know. You must have better eyeballs than me if you can tell, because I do not know what color this would be. You'd say, well, is it warm, cool, or neutral? And I would say, asked and answered, I do not know. I need some more information. Then you'd say, well, okay, let's go at this from a different angle. Let's try to project the gray into a season. Would you see it in an outfit holding its own, equal balance with summer's fleece, pastels, pearls, or would you see it in a combination with winter's charcoal glitter and diamonds? Where would it be more even? And I'd say fleece. I think I'd see it better with a fleece, but I'm projecting, I'm guessing. You don't know what's going to happen with colors until you make it happen. I'm really relating texture to color, but they're related. Texture definitely affects how we see color and reflectivity and so on, but they're not the same. So I say, I don't know, but I know the right answer when it comes to color. I need more context. Well, the great thing about gray in stores is you can always find examples of gray. So we're going to walk around, get ourselves another gray, and then look at this t-shirt again. So here we are. Now we get two t-shirts. And you say to me, well, what color is in that gray? And I'll say, I don't really know, to be honest. I get a feeling, though, that it's yellowish, greenish, maybe. And the new one looks pinker or bluer. I'm pretty sure that new one, the V-neck, is cooler. You know, Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. What's really interesting about that to me is that it applies to us too. So now we have a t-shirt that might be warm or it might be neutral, we don't know, the first one. And we have one that probably is cooler. And we're going to revisit those, but we're going to change gears in the next image and just take a look at some summer colors and talk about those for a bit. Here we are looking at picture number 3. So we walked around the store and we got ourselves some tops. And over on the right is a pale blue top. That's about as light as summer colors get. A nice summer blue pastel. In fact, a gorgeous true summer blue pastel. And then we have 2 in the middle. And if I asked you, well, what color can you see in those? You'd know. You can see that it's kind of an antique turquoise, a blue-green, whatever you want to call it, you'd be able to see the color. You'd know if you were to saturate that bag up, add that same pigment more and more and more till it was a bright color, you'd know that what color you would be adding. But what about that turtleneck? That's kind of hard, right? You don't see a lot of pigment in that one. I mean, is that one of those summer ones that is really low in pigment, but still summer? Or is it one of those winter ones that is very near the grayscale with just a tiny little bit of blue added into it? Don't know. Well, let's try to move things around a little bit. Could you project black into this picture and know what that turtleneck's going to do? Would it be a great top for a pair of black pants? And I think about that and I think I have a feeling the black would be kind of bottom heavy. It would look kind of chunky or it would look blocky somehow, like a pair of sweatpants. A great, great pair of black pants. The turtleneck wouldn't do them justice. And the turtleneck itself would appear, I'm not sure. I just get this feeling of, I don't know, I can't really see it. But the right answer is always make it happen, and then I'll tell you what I think. And so we go around the store a little bit more, and we get another item. Well, the great thing about neutral colors, here meaning just neutrals as in go with everything items, is that you can always find other examples. So we walked around the store, we found a gray. Well, we can walk around the store and we can find white and black. And if you can find white, black, and red, that's even better. So let's go for a little walk and look at another picture. Here's our 4th picture. Same summer tops in the top row with that turtleneck that we're not too sure about. And I've put a black and white and red top in the bottom row. I'm sorry that URStyle, for some reason, pixelates these pictures when it publishes them, particularly blacks and whites. But it is there. You can see the picture in the blog post. You can also visit URStyle, links in the description box. And you can look at the item in its original image at the store. But it's black and it's white and it's red. And now, and it's the same, I've just duplicated it because when colors are closer together, they they react with one another more. And also that way our eyes don't have to travel as far to make our comparisons. So now I can look at the blue turtleneck and say, oh, I think that belongs in the top row. I can see that there's blue in that now. I feel like it would be pretty good with a pair of jeans if I slid it down in between the 2 winter items, the 2 black, white, and red items. And I don't think that lineup would work as well. It's probably in a good place where it is up above. If I think about, if I were to imagine a lipstick with this turtleneck, would I picture a really, really bright fuchsia? Or red, like what's in the plaid top, the winter top? Or would I picture a softer color, a softer fuchsia color? I'd probably picture a softer fuchsia color. Just to say a couple of things at this point, if you're looking at these and thinking, I do not see what I don't see it that way. I am seeing completely different colors off these items. You're probably right. There are many steps of software between me and the image and you, your computer and you, and every single one of them is changing the colors to some degree. So if you don't see it that way, look at it on another device, look at it on the blog post, go to URStyle, but trust your eye that it's just the monitors that are changing the colors. The second thing is to say that close enough is good enough. Gray, if ever there was a color that could figure out the gap, it's going to be gray. Don't look at these. It's like a color app here, a game that color people play. Don't look at them though and think about, oh God, if it's this much work, I'm not doing it. There's no way, my general feeling about cooking, if it's this much work, if you got to know all this stuff, if they're going to be so nitpicky, then I'm just not doing this. If there was ever an 80-20 or a 70-30 person in the world, it's me, because it's good enough. Nobody's going to know all the grays you had to choose from. And don't make the idea that this is going to be complicated and judgy a reason to not do it. There are certain kinds of information about yourself that make no difference. Your blood type. What control do you have over anything for knowing that? But knowing your colors makes a huge difference in how you interact with others, how they see you, how you see yourself, how you present yourself to the world, what opportunities come your way. It really does matter. So don't hide behind the idea that this is in some way complicated or challenging, or that there's only right and wrong. That's not at all the way it is. You can make super decisions and be so much better than the random decisions you might be making right now, and have all kinds of fantastic outfits if you just start and learn what your colors are, and then your color analyst can help you a lot with what are the boundaries here and how tight do they have to be. But you'll figure that out by yourself. You would know if you saw the grays in the top row in your color palette that you're not going to be putting, let's say, elephant gray or khaki green with that. That's perfectly good enough information to look way, way better. So here we are. We've decided that turtleneck is probably a summer color. And we're going to look at this picture one more time with a couple of other colors. So let's do that now. We're looking now at picture number 5. Same as picture number 4, and then we've added a couple of darker grays in the bottom row. In the winter row, I did that randomly just because there was some space there, not implying they're particularly winter. And so do we see any color in them? I don't. Would we know what color it would be if we saturated it back up? Nope, I do not know. Is that because they're dark? Is it because they're winter and they only have a very little bit of color? Is it because they're neutral and that's because you don't see a lot of color? That's why you don't see a lot of color? I don't know. All I know is what I know, which is I don't see a lot of color there, and I don't know what it is if there is any. Just say what you see. We often have, in a teaching situation, a student will say, well, between these two drapes, I can't pick the better one. I can see very attractive effects and I can see detracting effects in both of them. Is that because the person's cool? Is that because they're a summer? And the answer is, you don't know. You don't know until you're done why you couldn't see certain things. You only know the information you have so far. You can't invent data and then start slotting that into your process, because you could go off the wrong way, You just know, I don't know. Okay, so then we try to get it to work with other items. That's what color harmony is. That's what great appearance is, when all the parts look great together and together with you. If I were to insert one of those darker grays in the top row, maybe, again, gray can figure out the gap, but I think it'd be a little bit dark. I think it might be a little bit heavy. If I picture the dark gray tops, either one of them, with those middle items, I'm not sure. Now, again, if your eyes say, I think it looks great together, well, fine, they're probably cool, and they have enough in common that they would be perfectly good outfit and a really good place to start. If I look at those two new tank tops, the darker ones, and think, they're not blue tinged, I think they're green. They might be. winter grays. You would think they would be blue tinged, and depending on what you compare them to, they may be. Sometimes they're purpley looking. Sometimes they absolutely are green looking. I always think about if the skin of an avocado were made like a little darker and metallic, it would be about that color. So winter grays can definitely reflect green. I don't actually mind them in the row with that winter, the plaid top we looked at, in the white, black, white, and red one that we had in the last picture. They're okay. They don't look overly heavy. They don't look super dramatic. They don't look wider than they are. They're just there. In the top row, I don't necessarily see those two tank tops as being the most flattering pair of pants, but they might work. Might not be that bad. Another thing I wanted to say about the dollar tank, the matte reflectivity one in the middle and then the smoother one. Folks can buy neutral sets. This is a set of 12 pieces of fabric for each of the 12 seasons with your whites and a whole selection of neutrals from lighter to darker. And in the winter seasons, they're often shiny, or many of the pieces are shiny. And folks will say, I don't dress in shiny colors. Why are you sending me shiny colors? I don't know how to work with this. The shine might be because of color precision. Those types of fabrics saturate a little higher and you get that metallic reflectivity that is very harmonious with winter colors. Not to say you don't get shine in the summer seasons, you do too. As you would see with the tank, the camisole in the top row, it's just a more brushed kind of softer shine. But the answer is for those shiny fabrics, just subtract the shine. What you're left with works just fine. And here you'll see the top in the center. I would see that as probably dark winter. The tunic over on the right, I would see probably as true winter, but a good example of essentially the same color. You just take the shine out of one of them. When you take away the shine, it doesn't completely change the color. The qualities of the color remain there, whether it's shiny or not. So still perfectly useful to direct your shopping, whether the textile example you have is shiny or not. So wanted to say those things, and I think that's it. Let's go back to the next picture where we're going to bring back the first two t-shirts and do some more comparing and look at colors in a different way. Okay, we're on to our last picture. You can see the original gray t-shirt in row number 1. You can see the V-neck t-shirt we used early on in row number 2, and the turtleneck appears twice in 5 and 6 on the left-hand side. And you can see the darker tank in 6, and you can see the tunic in 3. There are 3 color blocks. Color is color analysis, great appearance. It's about parts that work well together and with you. And so the exercise is look at 2 things at the same time, because that's how other people look at us. You don't look at other people and only see their yellows or only see their blues. You see everything they're wearing and everything they are all at the same time. And I've got my glasses on because I'm going to do this in real time with you. I kind of like these exercises. I just put them together, but I haven't made any decisions about them yet. Okay, and down the center, you see blocks of winter colors on the left-hand side and blocks of summer colors on the right-hand side. So let's look at row number 1. What we're going to do is if you can look at all 3 items together, great. I usually look at 2 at the same time. And so I'm looking at our original gray t-shirt and the fuchsia block. And I'm just thinking about, what's that feel like? Gray should look gray. It shouldn't look yellow or green, because what's going to happen to our skin tones as well. And as I look at the gray t-shirt with the fuchsia, and disagree with me, like if you see this differently, say something in the comments. When I look at the gray t-shirt with the fuchsia, it looks yellow to me. I don't know what season it is. I don't know what, if you colored it back up, what it would be. I don't know. And I have no idea. I don't see those as particularly great together. If the other choice was the other t-shirt with the fuchsia. The other t-shirt with the fuchsia, so pardon me for looking away, I've got the image on my screen here. The other fuchsia with the t-shirt, with the tank top, okay. Tank top looks clean. It looks crisp. It has an outline I can see. That could be the cut. I don't know. I just like the shape of it. If I had to picture that fuchsia lipstick over one of these tank tops, because you got to push the extremes, right? If you stay too close to the center and you're too safe about it, you can't really tell. You got to get a little bit obnoxious. I would pick the fuchsia with the tank top rather than the fuchsia lipstick above the t-shirt. Number 2. So now the red in the center is a true summer red, or it is on my screen. And I'm looking at it with the V-neck tank top. Okay, I can see some pink in the V-neck tank top, but they're the sort of the V-neck t-shirt, but they're kind of the same kind of pink. There's some nice continuity there. If a woman with that t-shirt wore that lipstick, I'd think, yeah, I could see why you'd put these two things together. And it doesn't matter whether you wear lipstick or not. That would be the color of your natural blush and your natural lips if you were a true summer. What do I think about the soft fuchsia with the other tank, with the other sleeveless top? I'm looking at the two together and I'm thinking about, am I ignoring one of these? Is one of them falling behind? Is one of them changing color? Maybe the sleeveless tank looks a little greenish. And maybe once I look at the sleeveless tank, I find myself progressively more and more and more ignoring the red. But they are awfully close. And if you're looking at this and honestly thinking, well, I'd wear that together, then wear it together. There's nothing about it that would be particularly unpleasant or impossible at all. Nobody'd react and it would be quite okay. A game that we play in our teaching sessions sometimes is, okay, you got $1,000, you can only buy one of them. Which one's it going to be? I think for me it'd be the t-shirt. I can see the lipstick, the red and the t-shirt as stronger entities, both separately and together, than the red with the sleeveless top. But we're on, 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10. It's not that big of a distinction. Moving down to row number 3, there's the black tunic again that we saw in the last image. And I'm looking at that with the black square. Okay, and I can see that she's got dark pants on there, black, or there's some sort of very dark navy. The same sorts of tones are appearing in the tunic as in the black. So there's a nice flow back and forth. There's a nice continuity there. When I look at the black square with the tank top is getting bluer and bluer. I don't object to that. If someone wore those two in an outfit, I'd think, okay, sure. There was a lot worse choices you could have made at the store that day than wearing that tank top. $1,000 can only pick one. I would pick the black tunic. There's something a little more peaceful about it, something more calm and belonging about it. Moving on to number 4, a summer gray. So as you can tell, the block of color, it's gray, but it has a bluish tinge because this is summer and the grays have more pigment to them. From the racerback tank to the gray, well, it's kind of like number 3. I can see some very nice continuity between the racerback tank and the gray block. Same kinds of colors appear in them. There's a kind of have a unifying theme. You can see why these things are together. They're making sense of one another. They're not competing with one another. The gray square in row number 4 with the sleeveless top, strapless top, I am not as comfortable. The strapless top looks maybe yellow. The combination is awkward. And you don't always have to be able to put everything into words. Maybe it's a little too orange. Maybe the fabric is a little bit droopy. It doesn't look like it can stand up by itself. Its shape is not being flattered by these two colors being together. Whatever it is, and I'm not here to say there's a wrong or a right, I would very much prefer to see the racerback tank with the charcoal square than I would the sleeveless strapless top. I do hope you're seeing these the same way as I am. but if you're not, I really want to know, I really want to hear what people think about things. Going down to row number 5, we have a sapphire blue square. So that's a winter color. It doesn't matter what winter, probably true or bright, but that's going to be one of the winters. And this summer, the turtleneck we saw in a couple of our previous panels is there. So if I look at that lighter turtleneck, the one we've seen before, and the blue square, the blue to me is very dominant. It's taking over. If you wore the turtleneck with the blue pants or reverse the relationship, your attention's on the blue. I don't find that turtleneck necessarily holding its own. The type of blue that's in it isn't clashing. I mean, they're cool and cool. They do have some things in common. I just wish it had a little bit more muscle of some sort to hold up to the blue. The turtleneck on the right side holds up to it a little bit better. There doesn't seem to be either one of them falling behind. In the combination, would I see that turtleneck with the sapphire blue, either of those turtlenecks with the sapphire blue? Maybe. In row number 5 still, the lighter turtleneck, the one we've seen before, feels a bit weak to me. It's a little bit watery. The blue is much more dominant. I'm not entirely convinced about the other one either. It's maybe turning a bit green. Maybe. I'd want to see that in some other combinations. So, it's not a yes or no instant reaction. It's not like, oh, that's obviously right or that's obviously wrong. Nobody would ever wear these things together. Color is a lot more fluid than that. It's a lot more permissive than that. Artistic expression and personal taste are much more accepting and inclusive of those types of absolute right or wrong. Don't be intimidated by any of this stuff. Just say what you see and wear what you like. And if we go over to number 6, there's that turtleneck again. Same turtleneck, eh? Same turtleneck that we have had in the last 2 panels. I mean, it even looks a little bit different here, but just because of which kind of blue is beside it. And I am sure that I'd rather see the turtleneck with the softer blue than with the very intense blue. The two items just, one of the turtleneck is almost moving forwards next to the softer blue, and it's receding next to the brighter blue. And the tank top, I thought previously that if we took that tank top and inserted it into the summer row, I think that was panel number 5, it might look a little bit heavy. Maybe there would be another season, maybe dark winter, where it would be an absolute knockout, where it would be absolutely perfect. But everything you wear doesn't have to be perfect all the time. Or, let me say, everything I wear doesn't have to be perfect all the time. The idea is just to make better choices, more informed and educated choices in a relaxed and permissive kind of way. So I do wonder if the black tank top is a little bit heavy next to the softer blue square. I also wonder if it looks a little green. It's not awful, but I'd want to see that with some other colors. And in the meantime, the turtleneck with the blue square, okay, not bad at all. They are laying fairly flat. They both appear, neither one of them is receding or falling forward. I'm not ignoring one. I could easily picture a jacket of that blue over the turtleneck. If you had the turtleneck and the pants in the blue square or skirt, my attention would be divided evenly. I'd be looking at them both evenly. I could picture that soft blue as an eye color above the turtleneck. In fact, with that charcoal eyeliner and the red lipstick or blush at the top, those would make some really nice combinations. I always think summers are just amazing when they do They're pinks, they're blues, and something else. Pink, blue, and gray, pink, blue, and white, red, blue, and they're just really good. In the same way that I think winters just snap together when they do black, white, and red. Personal opinion, this is just what my eyes like to see. So, gives you some idea of how I look at things and what kind of questions I ask myself when I make these decisions. And again, that the idea is just to create a whole lot of parts that go together. I did a really fun video recently, and I hope to do a lot more, where it was a kind of commentary on outfits that were at the Grammys, and those pictures were shown to me. I didn't have any time to react to them. They just shown to me. And, for many of them, my reaction was, okay, I can see the Grand Canyon colors in the makeup, and I can see the steely colors, the wintry colors in the dress, and then I can see the colors in the person, or often I can't. What do these things have to do with one another? So a color analyzed appearance creates parts that have everything, a lot to do with one another. They enhance one another just by being together, and other people's eyes flow back and forth and back and forth, and it just feels good to look at. Before I leave you today, I'm going to say that Jorunn and I, Jorunn of Nordic Simplicity in Norway, and I will be publishing a podcast at Chrysalis Color on May 28th, and it will be all about grays, and it also will take a practical approach to gray, and we'll be talking about all 12 seasons. So we hope to see you there. As always, ask me questions, leave comments in the description box about what is helpful to you and what you would like to see more of. And we'll see if we can make that happen. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.